Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rounding the Bases podcast. I'm Coach Coons, along with Coach Porter from AheadAccountRecruiting.com. Uh, on a Actually, it was a nice day here in the metropolis of Alabama. Uh, as far as weather-wise, it was nice to be outside. I don't know how you're handling up there, Coach. You're more in the north, with the snow and everything else is coming down.
Yep. No snow here. It was about 55, 56, and just raining about as hard as it could possibly rain. So it's mild but wet.
Yeah, there you go.
Mild
Well,
but wet.
tonight we thought we'd cover some things like what are coaches looking for, baseball, softball wise in a defender. Everything is so geared towards pitching and offense, and I think we covered those two. But what are they looking for in a person that's a defensive player? Everybody knows that they want to be a middle infielder, or that's the positions. But uh, gosh, I know when I played, I was a third baseman and I pitched. I liked being on that corner, and I don't know if it was because I was good at it or I didn't have a lot of time to think about it, so I just did it when the ball was hit to you. But
Yeah.
in your experience, what do you see as a former coach as well? Look for in a kid that's going to come in and help you defensively, not be your home run hitter, not be your uh, guy to drive in runs, but he's there to steady the ship when you need to have it steadied.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm one of those coaches that and especially when I was in college, and college a little bit different, right? So I want you to think of this. So as a college player, I played through um my freshman and sophomore year, maybe just my freshman year, we were still swinging -5 bats.
Right.
And the ball jumped off the bat. Then we go to the -3. Then we make all these changes and all that stuff. So when I was in college, um, if you hit, you played. I mean, flat out, and that still holds true today.
Right.
If you hit, you play. However, I think if you look at defense, and in baseball, I include pitching as part of your defense, right? Typically, in any sport, right, the team now you got to score more points or more runs than your opposition, but typically teams that play really good defense win, right? If you really think of it, if hitting is so up and down,
That's exactly what I was going to say, because
it's so
you
up
can
and down.
have an off day hitting, but you still need something to right the ship.
Yeah, I I really believe that if you play good defense, and of course the pitcher plays such a role psychologically in your team, that I really feel like you're going to be in more games at the end
Right.
defensively, right? Or than playing, uh, back in, some of the scores back in the 80s, the 90s in college baseball were wild, right? I mean, with these bats. But anyway, in a defender, I'm looking for somebody that's going to make the routine play 100% of the time. Okay? Make the routine play 100% of the time. Now, a couple things go with that. Number one, if you make the routine play 100% of the time, if you're consistent, your confidence level is going to go up, and you're going to make some of those, web gems. You're going to make some of those, old school ESPN web gems. The second thing is, in building a team, if I started from scratch and I took over a new program, you've got to build your team up the middle, right? I really believe that, as a college coach, if I was starting a program, I'd build my team up the middle with a really solid catcher, with as many shortstops as I could possibly recruit
Right.
for everywhere else, and a really good center fielder. And one of those really, really good shortstops could be your center fielder. Um, One of those good shortstops could end up being your second baseman. One of those good shortstops could end up being your third baseman. Okay. So, and I think every single position carries a different mentality, right? Carries a different like feel. So, as a catcher, I still believe to this day catching is defensive skill is the number one thing. I'm going to put a good catcher on the field, even if he can't hit, because I really believe there's value in receiving, and obviously there's value in uh, communication and rapport with pitchers, and there's value in being helping control the running game. And I think that we're so metrically driven. One of the things I do, and I'm not Mr. Metric, right? You're um, I really believe that you evolve or die, so there's a little bit of metric in me, right? But I really take a lot of stock in a really good receiver and what a really good receiver does. I had a kid when I coached at Texas A&M International. He's now a manager in the Rays organization, Sean Smedley. And Sean got a great opportunity with the Rays when they cut the draft down. And he signed as a catcher after our season was over in 2013, and he battled his way through the minor league system and eventually got into coaching. I think he started as a video guy, got into coaching, and is now a manager in the Rays system. And even as a player, I could tell he's going to be a very, very good coach. You could just tell. But Sean um, brought a ton of value because he knew the game really, really well, and he could receive really, really well. And he hit too. He hit too, but I really believe his strength was as a receiver, and obviously his knowledge of the game and being able to run a team. That's important. Um, Shortstop for me is I'm probably going to give up some offense at shortstop too. It's shortstop and center field. Those guys are tremendous athletes, and the value in somebody that can play shortstop and be your best defender. A lot of high value in that. Same as in center field. you know um, so I think you put a lot of stock offensively into your corner outfielders and your corner infielders, right? But at the same time, in amateur baseball, can you really give up runs on the field? Now, am I an offense early, defensive late type of guy in decision making and coaching? Yeah, but I've also been burned enough doing that and putting a defender out there. I mean, what if you drive in three and you give up five because you
Right.
can't catch the ball? So those are all really important things to me. But just a couple takeaways is that before I turn it over to you again, is I'm looking for somebody that can make the routine play 100% of the time. You have to have a good catcher. You have to have a good shortstop, and you have to have a good center fielder. I really, really believe that.
Right.
And then being strong up the middle is really, really important, and being able to turn a double play. How about obviously in college and pro ball, that should be second nature. It should be in high school too, but really, really, you'd be really surprised how many teams have trouble doing it. Um, I think at the lower levels, you have to have somebody that can play first base defensively really, really well. I think that becomes in a lot of times more of an offensive position. The odd man out, where we're going to stick this guy. Although I think first base can be hard to play if you've never done that footwork. It's tough. It takes a different mentality for a third baseman, but your corner guys um, are more than likely going to be offensive guys in your lineup.
Right.
And I think that those are all important. And then, thank God we have the DH. We can hide somebody, um, or put somebody over there that maybe doesn't have the defensive skill, but or they're just the odd man out in the lineup. Sometimes this is weird and it affects culture for me to say this, but sometimes you have too many good players. But you know,
Good problem to
uh,
have.
yeah. And I believe in NAI you can still do this. You definitely can in high school. We call it create a player. You can put a player in, and you can um, he could just play defense. You can DH for a position player and not the pitcher. In the NCAA, you can only DH for the pitcher as well. So, and I've used the pitcher DH for many, many, many years as well. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the defensive end of it.
I think another good point is, speaking baseball wise now, you look at your college rosters. You have a certain number of players that you can have. Well, guess what? If it's the number is 40, you may have 25 pitchers there because that's what you need, and the rest are fielding players. So I think it's advantageous for you. You may be a terrific player somewhere, but always have a second position that you could go. If you could play shortstop, you could play second base. Or if you play third base, you could play first base. I mean, even look at the pros. I mean, one first baseman goes out, they'll move another person over to play first base and bring somebody else in at third. There's not a lot of roster spots to carry 2 to 3 players per position.
Yeah.
Because they need the pitching. That would be my first big thing. And now that's baseball. Softball, a little different mentality, because you can have ladies go out there and throw 250 pitches Monday night and throw 250 more on Wednesday night. So you don't have as many so-called pitchers because you can get away with 3 or 2 or 3 pitchers. You can have more hitters and fielders. So softball might be a little different animal there, but I think it's always good to have at least a second, if not a third position you can play. There's a lot of two-way players going now. They'll pitch one day, they'll go in the outfield the next, or whatever. Yeah, you're a shortstop. You've been a shortstop since you were 5 years old playing Little League Baseball. What else can you do for me?
See, we went through this phase, I kind of feel like, in college baseball and baseball in general, the college level, where for a while it was, nah, you can't be a two-way, you can't be a two-way. I use that to our advantage in recruiting, and I'm like,
Absolutely.
if you can hit, I'll give you a shot to hit and fall in the fall. If you can hit, absolutely. Some of my best players I ever had in college were two-way guys.
Right.
I couldn't tell you how many years my number one was also like my shortstop. Now
Yeah.
that's tricky. That's not optimum, but guess what? If it gives me the opportunity to get him over another coach, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is you hit out a little bit. Know the game. Be a player. I mean, there are so many instances where runners will be on base, a ball gets hit. Nobody really understands. And I'm not saying a lot of people do this, but play the game in your head ahead of time. Know the game. Know what the next play's got to be. If it's hit here, it's got to be here. Those thought processes are unmeasurable for a coach, because if you know the game, he can give something up a little somewhere else, because
Yeah.
it's hard to teach somebody to know the game and be able to allow give them playing time. Like, what can you offer at that point?
Yes.
You could be a career DH hitter. Maybe that's all you do is you hit. But if you don't know the game, how can we put you out there at shortstop, third base, first base? If a ball's hit to you in a big situation, what do you do with it? So I think those are relative things for whether it's baseball, whether it's softball, anything else, or any sport. Have a second position there. Know the game you're getting into, and I think the last thing is have the heart to want to do it. I mean, how many people do you know that are that are shortstops or third basemen, and they'll sit back on a ball, or not know when to charge a ball. Have the heart to go get it. I mean, you want to see a sport? Go to a softball game one time and watch these women. The third baseman is literally on top of the batter. On top of the batter. You want to know the game? They know the game. Now, if you did that in baseball, you might get your teeth knocked out or something.
Oh yeah,
With a
seen it
shot,
happen.
they know the game. There's more slap hitters here. There's more of this. There's more, scouting reports. What do you do? What do you bring to the table that'll help me to put you in the game? What do you bring to the table that'll help me put you on my roster? And we can explain all that to you. We have information from coaches, from our experience, and so on. We can help you with that. We can give you that's what our whole goal is with our company here. We want to give you the best opportunity to make that roster. Now, what you do with it at that point is your call. But our goal is to get you noticed, get you recruited, get you on that team. So that coach thinks that they have something there, whether it's baseball or softball, doesn't matter. That's our goal with everybody. Once you get that opportunity, it's in your hands. You have to run with it. Do you play the second position? Do you know that game? Do you know everything? Because they will test you there. They'll ask you questions. They'll hit balls at you, wonder why you did this or this. And do you have the heart to play it? Defense is hard. I remember I was on a sectional championship team in high school. Bases loaded, we were up 1 run, 2 outs, and you just tense up. I've played third base. Guess where the ball got hit? To me. I knew if it got hit to me and it was right at me, I was stepping on third. Ball game, it's over. You play those situations in your head. You can remember it. It just clockwork. It just happens. So I think, the points you make are excellent. I think you got to have that. Understand coaches have the mentality to build the middle and then out. And if you got a catcher who can help your pitcher, tremendous. If you got a shortstop and second baseman that can work together, tremendous. Center fielder that can move the outfield around, there you go. Your other guys fit in. Your third baseman's going to be a defender, hit for power, drive and run. Same with the first baseman. So that's how these teams are formed. What do you bring to the table that will help that? I think if you bring something like that, you stand a good shot of making a roster.
Let us help you find that roster.
That's right. It'll help
Let
you.
us help you find that roster. There's no better time than now. Give us a shout. Reach out to us. We're here to help.
We will be here next week. We'll try to get on Monday again, just before Christmas. If you haven't been out there shopping for your parents yet, get out there. You're running out of time. And if you haven't given them your list yet, which I'm sure you've all done, but get it to them too. Cleats, softball, bats, you got it. It's out there. But we'll see you next week, probably Monday night, just before Christmas Wednesday, and we'll talk some more. If you have any questions or any ideas in the meantime, drop us a note, DM us on X, send us an email. It's on our website. And give it to us. We'll be glad to talk about it. We'll be glad to address it. Until next week,